Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Welcome. I Javid wani. My dear students, we shall discuss in today's lecture variables or indicators of demography. That is, those factors or those things which influence or which impact the size of the population or which affect the demography. So what are they? We shall discuss those factors here. Several demographic variables play an important role in the study of human populations, especially fertility and fecundity, mortality and life expectancy, and migration. Dear students, the things which I mentioned here with fertility, mortality, migration, they play an important role in the size of the population, or they affect the population. We can say these are the variables of the demography. Let us discuss each one by one. First, fertility and fecundity. A population size is affected by fertility, which refers to the number of children that an average woman bears during her reproductive years. What is this fertility? It is the number of children which a woman bears during her reproductive years. People sometimes confuse the term fertility with fecundity. What is fecundity? It's not the complete fertility. Fecundity it refers to the number of children an average woman is capable of bearing. The number of children a woman is capable of bearing is fecundity, and the fertility is the actual number of children which a woman bears, which a woman gave birth during her reproductive years. The fertility really affects the size of the population. We know that because of fertility there is increase of population, my dear students. Such factors as health, finances, and personal decisions sharply affect fecundity. The condition of health in a country or in an area, the finances, the money power which they have, and the personal decision and the actual decision of the individuals really affect the fecundity. Crude birth rate is the number of live births for every 1,000 people in a population. What is crude birth rate? What is crude fertility rate? It is the number of live births. The number of live births for every 1,000 people in a population. Let's discuss variable number second, mortality and expectancy. Mortality, or we shall say simply, it's the death, number of deaths. Mortality, or the number of deaths in a population, also influences population size. It also affects population size. We know that mortality counteracts the fertility. It decreases the population. Crude death rate is the number of deaths annually per 1,000 people in a population. How many deaths occurs there for every 1,000 people in a year is known as crude death rate. There is another term, infant mortality rate. We shall discuss this under this heading, under the said heading, mortality. Infant mortality rate, what is this? Which is the number of deaths among infants. Infants are those children who are below 1 year age, which is the number of deaths among infants under age 1 for each 1,000 live births in a year. How many live births of infants occurs there and how many deaths occurs among them is known as infant mortality rate. Life expectancy. A low infant mortality rate correlates with a higher life expectancy, which is the average lifespan of a society's population. While whenever or wherever there is a low infantility rate, no a low infant mortality rate, there is almost a higher life expectancy, that the life of the people gets extended and expanded. They live a better life and long life. Then there is last one, migration. Finally, migration. What is migration? The movement of people from one place to another. From one place to another is known as migration. It also affects the population size. While majority of the migrations are involuntary, that they do it by their will, but migrations can be involuntary as well, such as when slaves were brought to America. That is when they were brought to America, being brought as slaves. And other migrations are voluntary. We know that most of the migrations are voluntary, such as when families move from villages to cities or from cities to suburbs, that's the rural areas. And one of the most important migration is from country to country, cutting across the borders, where they migrate from one country to another. They are voluntary, they are yearning for the jobs, for better lives, for better prospects. They migrate from one country to another. There is another term, immigration, which comes under the migration. What is immigration? It is the migration into an area, is measured as the immigration rate. Immigration means when people migrate into an area, that very migration is immigration. Which is what is immigration rate? Is the number of people entering a region. How many people enters into a region per each 1,000 people in the population. It is compared with the number of people per each 1,000 people in the population. Emigration, what is emigration? Migration out of an area. When migration occurs, when the people move out of an area, it's known as emigration, which is measured as the emigration rate, which is the number of people living per each 1,000 people in the population. Then there is internal migration. It is the movement from one area to another within a country's borders. It is known as my dear, internal migration. The factors which we studied here, which we discussed here, really impacts the size of the population. That's what we studied. What we understood today is that we studied variables, indicators of demography. That is those things, those parameters, those headings which really affect the size of the population. They fluctuate the population. For example, we studied fertility, that is the births. Then we studied this mortality, that is the deaths. Then we studied migration, that is the movement of the people. All these which we discussed comes under the which are known as variables or indicators of demography. Today it was all, and inshallah tomorrow we shall discuss trends of demography. Till then, assalamu alaikum.